In the early 1920s, a man named Raymond Elmer DeWalt is working as superintendent of a woodworking mill at Seabrook Farms in New Jersey. The mill builds everything from boxes to houses. The workload is enormous. The staff is too small. The company will not hire more workers. DeWalt has to find a way to make the men he already has produce more with less. He has been solving problems like this his entire life. Born on October 9, 1885 in Oakville, Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, he grew up in rural farm country where his father John taught him to build wagon wheels by hand. The work was physical, precise, and repetitive. DeWalt learned materials, tolerances, and the distance between what a tool could do and what the work required. He was not an academic. He was a tradesman. He worked at the Bissell Company in Shippensburg, then at a construction firm in Seabrook, New Jersey. Every job put him in front of the same problem. Cutting wood by hand was slow. Cutting wood with the tools available was not much faster. At the Seabrook mill, the frustration reaches a breaking point. DeWalt's workers are making imprecise, time-consuming cuts with miter boxes and manual saws. The work is backbreaking. The output is inadequate. The company needs more cuts per hour and will not pay for more hands to make them. DeWalt does what he always does. He builds a machine. In 1922, Raymond DeWalt designs a device unlike anything in the woodworking industry. He takes a circular saw blade, drives it directly with an electric motor, and mounts the entire assembly in a pivoting yoke suspended from an adjustable radial arm. The arm slides, raises, lowers, angles, and bevels. The saw head tilts and swings. One machine, one operator, 29 different cutting operations. The key innovation is the arm, not the saw blade. Circular saws already exist, but the radial arm allows the operator to position the blade in any orientation relative to the workpiece. Instead of moving heavy lumber through a stationary blade, the operator moves the blade through stationary lumber. The wood stays on the table while the saw travels to it. The principle is the same one that would later define the chainsaw revolution. The tool goes to the work, not the work to the tool. He calls it the Wonder Worker. The name is accurate, not aspirational. Before the Wonder Worker, a woodworking shop performing a full range of cuts needs a cross-cut saw, a rip saw, a miter saw, a dado blade, a tenon cutter, a router, and a sander. 7 machines, 7 setups, 7 different operators, or 7 different stations. Each machine occupies floor space, requires its own dust collection, its own maintenance, its own electrical feed. The Wonder Worker replaces all of them. A single worker stands at a single machine and performs every cut the job requires. Cross-cuts, rip cuts, bevels, miters, dados, tenons, rabbets, shapers, routers, sanders. The operator adjusts the arm, and the saw follows. In a mill that will not hire more men, Raymond DeWalt has built a machine that turns 1 man into 7. In 1924, DeWalt founds the DeWalt Products Company in Leola, Pennsylvania, to manufacture and sell the Wonder Worker. The operation is small, the facility is modest, but the product changes everything about how a woodworking shop operates, and the men who use it know it immediately. The radial arm saw spreads through woodworking shops across America. Construction crews adopt it, then cabinet makers, then high school industrial arts programs. The machine becomes so ubiquitous in shop classes that an entire generation of American men learns to cut wood on a DeWalt. The name becomes synonymous with the category. You do not use a radial arm saw, you use a DeWalt. In 1929, the company moves to larger, more modern facilities in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The product line expands. The workforce grows. The radial arm saw is becoming a standard tool of the American construction industry. Then Raymond DeWalt does something nobody expects. At the pinnacle of the company's early success, as the Wonder Worker is becoming the standard of the American woodworking shop, Raymond DeWalt sells his company. Not to retire, and not to pursue another business opportunity. He sells it to found a religious communal order. The details are sparse. The historical record offers almost nothing about what drove this decision. What is known is that Raymond DeWalt walks away from the company that bears his name, the company he founded to manufacture the machine he invented, and enters a life that has nothing to do with power tools. He later resurfaces as a shop teacher at Mechanicsburg High School in Pennsylvania. The man who invented the radial arm saw, who founded a company that changed woodworking in America, who created a machine that could perform 29 operations, spends his later years teaching teenagers how to use tools in a high school workshop. The company changes hands. New investors take over. Paul Gardner and Isaac Ruff acquire the business. The DeWalt Products Company continues manufacturing radial arm saws under the DeWalt name, but the founder is gone. The man whose name is on the machines is teaching high school. In 1947, the company is reorganized and reincorporated as DeWalt Inc. By the late 1940s, the brand is one of the most recognized names in American woodworking. The radial arm saw sits in every serious workshop in the country. DeWalt has become the noun for the category. A carpenter walks into a lumber mill in 1948 and asks to use the DeWalt. He is not asking for a brand. He is asking for the machine. The name and the tool are the same word. In 1949, American Machine and Foundry Company, better known as AMF, purchases DeWalt Inc. AMF is a sprawling mid-century American conglomerate, the kind of corporation that collects companies the way other people collect stamps. It makes bowling equipment, nuclear reactors, bicycles, and bread-making machinery. It will later buy Harley-Davidson and run it so poorly that the motorcycle workers eventually buy their own company back in a leveraged buyout. DeWalt is one piece in a portfolio that has no coherent identity beyond acquisition. The radial arm saw is a rounding error in AMF's revenue. During the AMF era, DeWalt benefits from the parent company's manufacturing scale. The wartime production expansion has left the company with a larger workforce, a stronger supply chain, and a brand name that has been tested under wartime urgency and proven reliable. Government contracts, military woodworking shops, and construction battalions have used DeWalt machines. The brand comes out of the war period stronger financially and better known than at any point in its history. AMF-era DeWalt also diversifies the product line modestly. Atlas Press Company machines are rebadged under the DeWalt name. Jointers, table saws, drill presses, sanders, lathes, and bandsaws carry the DeWalt badge. Some of these are genuine DeWalt designs. Others are existing products wearing a different sticker. The practice of putting the DeWalt name on products designed by other companies begins here, decades before Black & Decker turns it into an art form. In 1953, DeWalt extends services into Canada. The radial arm saw crosses the border. The brand's North American footprint grows. But the engineering innovation that defined Raymond DeWalt's original company has stopped. The product line does not leap forward. The Wonderworker does not become the Wonderworker 2. The brand coasts on a reputation that Raymond DeWalt earned and AMF inherited. On May 8, 1961, Raymond Elmer DeWalt dies in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. He is 75 years old. The man who invented the radial arm saw, who founded and then abandoned his own company, who ended his career teaching teenagers in a high school workshop, dies 1 year after. Black & Decker acquires the company that bears his name. He does not live to see what they will do with it. In 1960, AMF sells DeWalt to Black & Decker. The acquisition is logical from a portfolio standpoint. Black & Decker is the dominant force in portable electric tools. It invented the pistol grip electric drill in 1917. It developed the first cordless drill in 1961. It built the tools that drilled the moon on the Apollo 15 mission. The company is the most recognized power tool brand in the world. DeWalt is a respected name in stationary woodworking equipment. The two product lines complement each other without competing. Portable and stationary. Consumer and professional. Black & Decker and DeWalt. Black & Decker operates DeWalt as a subsidiary. then reorganizes it as the Lancaster Machinery Division. The Lancaster facility continues producing radial arm saws, table saws, belt sanders, disc sanders, and other stationary woodworking equipment. The DeWalt brand remains on the machines. The machines remain in the shops. The craftsmen remain loyal. For 2 decades, nothing changes. DeWalt makes radial arm saws. Black & Decker sells portable drills and consumer tools. The brands coexist peacefully inside the same corporation. The professional reputation of DeWalt remains intact because Black & Decker leaves it alone. Nobody in Towson, Maryland is telling the engineers in Lancaster, Pennsylvania to make the machines cheaper or lighter or worse. The machines are what they are. The brand is what it is. But the market beneath DeWalt is shifting. Through the 1970s and into the 1980s, the radial arm saw begins losing ground to a new type of machine. The compound miter saw is smaller, lighter, cheaper, and safer than the radial arm saw. It cannot do 29 operations. It does not need to. Most operators need crosscuts, miters, and bevels. The miter saw does all 3 in a smaller footprint with less risk. It costs less. It weighs less. It takes up less space in a workshop that is already overcrowded. The radial arm saw has a problem the Wonderworker was never designed to address. The blade pulls toward the operator during crosscuts. An experienced user understands the pull and controls it instinctively. An inexperienced user who does not understand the machine's mechanics can lose fingers. The compound miter saw pushes the blade downward and away from the operator. The safety advantage is decisive, not marginal. Insurance companies notice. School administrators notice. OSHA notices. Schools begin replacing DeWalt radial arm saws with compound miter saws. The high school shop class, where an entire generation of Americans learned to cut wood, is swapping out the machines that taught them. Contractors follow. The job site that once featured a radial arm saw bolted to a pair of sawhorses now features a compound miter saw on a folding stand. Lighter, cheaper, safer, less capable, but capable enough. DeWalt's core product is being made obsolete by a simpler, safer, more affordable alternative. And Black & Decker, the parent company, does nothing to adapt. They never develop a DeWalt compound miter saw, never expand DeWalt into portable tools, never leverage the DeWalt name in any product category beyond the one that is shrinking. They watch the radial arm saw market contract year after year while the DeWalt brand contracts with it. In the mid-1980s, Black & Decker divests the radial arm saw manufacturing branch entirely, selling it to 2 executives. The physical operation that Raymond DeWalt built, the machines, the factory, the workers, is gone. Black & Decker keeps one thing: the trademark, the name, DeWalt. By 1989, the brand is dormant. There are no products, no factory, no employees, no advertising, and no presence on any shelf in any store in America. The DeWalt name sits in a filing cabinet in Towson, Maryland, a piece of intellectual property inside a conglomerate that has no use for it. The brand that Raymond DeWalt built in 1924 is dead. At the same moment DeWalt is dying, Black & Decker's professional tool line is dying too. But for an entirely different reason. Black & Decker sells professional-grade power tools under its own name. The tools are competent, the engineering is solid. But the Black & Decker brand has become so thoroughly associated with consumer products, with dustbusters and toasters and kitchen appliances, that professional tradespeople refuse to carry the tools on a job site. The resistance has nothing to do with quality. It is entirely about identity. Starting in the late 1970s, Makita, the Japanese company, has carved out a new market segment that barely existed before. The small to medium-sized contractor who buys professional tools at retail outlets. By 1992, that market is worth $432 million and growing at 9% annually. Makita's teal-colored tools are on every construction site in America. Milwaukee holds the industrial segment. Black & Decker's professional line, charcoal grey and barely distinguishable from its black consumer tools, is invisible. Joseph Galley Jr., Vice President for Sales and Marketing at Black & Decker US Power Tools, commissions a nationwide market survey. The results are devastating. The professionals know the Black & Decker name. They will not buy it. They associate it with household tools. Weekend projects, the drill their wife uses to hang a picture frame. They don't want the same brand as their blender, one distributor tells the study. The contractor market wants the most macho brand on the job site. Black & Decker is the opposite of macho. But the survey reveals something else, something unexpected. 70% of professional tradespeople in the United States still recognize the name DeWalt. The brand has been dead for 3 years, with nothing on shelves, no advertising, and no presence anywhere. Yet 70% of the professional market remembers it. And what they remember is durability, quality, and professional-grade equipment. The radial arm saw in the shop class, the machine their father used, the brand their grandfather trusted, a dead name with a living reputation. Joseph Galley sees what that means. In 1992, Black & Decker resurrects DeWalt. The operation is precise, deliberate, and entirely manufactured. Black & Decker takes its existing professional tool line, the same drills, saws, and drivers that have been selling poorly under the Black & Decker Professional and Kodiak names, and repackages them. New housing color, yellow. Bright, high visibility yellow. The color of hard hats, safety tape, and caution signs on construction sites. The color that says professional, danger, serious work. New name on the housing, DeWalt. New warranty, expanded coverage, dedicated service network, faster turnaround. New price, higher than the Black & Decker equivalents. The price increase signals that these are premium tools, even though they come from the same factories, designed by the same engineers, assembled on the same production lines. The initial launch includes 33 products, drills, circular saws, reciprocating saws, jigsaws, each one wearing the yellow housing and the DeWalt badge. Black & Decker sends 70 salespeople across the country to throw what it calls sawdust parties at hardware stores and lumber yards. The salespeople demonstrate the new DeWalt tools to local contractors. They stress that the tools are made in America. Small American flags appear on the packaging. The messaging is calculated. This is not Black & Decker. This is DeWalt. This is professional. This is yours. Galley calls it the largest initiative in the history of the company. The budget runs into the millions. The marketing machinery operates at a scale that a real startup could never afford, spanning television advertising, trade show presence, NASCAR sponsorship, magazine spreads, and in-store displays designed by professionals who understand construction site psychology. The campaign has one goal: convince the American contractor that DeWalt is an independent, professional tool brand. Not a subsidiary or a repackaging exercise or the same tools in a different color, but something new. Something that belongs on a job site. Something that is not Black & Decker. The psychology is precise. Yellow is chosen because it is the only gender-neutral color not already claimed by a major power tool brand. Makita has teal. Milwaukee has red. Black & Decker has black. Bosch has blue and green. Yellow is open. Yellow is the color of caution tape, hard hats, safety vests, and heavy equipment on construction sites. It is the most visible color in a job site environment. A DeWalt tool sitting on a plywood subfloor in a half-framed house is visible from 50 feet away. That visibility is marketing that repeats itself every hour of every workday without costing the company $1. The packaging includes small American flags. The salespeople emphasize that the tools are made in America. In 1992, the professional contractor market is dominated by Makita, a Japanese company. The nationalism angle is deliberate. We think the user is prepared to support an American alternative, Galley tells the press. The fact that Makita operates a manufacturing plant in Buford, Georgia, making many of its tools on American soil, is mentioned nowhere in the campaign. It works. Within months, DeWalt is outselling Makita 3-2 in hardware stores across Pennsylvania. Within 2 years, DeWalt has captured significant market share from Makita across the United States. The professional contractor market that Makita created and dominated for over a decade is being taken apart by a brand that did not exist 3 years earlier. By a brand that is, at this point, nothing more than a dead man's name on a yellow casing manufactured in the same factory as the Black & Decker drill it replaced. Black & Decker has executed the most successful brand turnaround in the history of the power tool industry. The critics call it a marketing masterstroke. The Ember programs turn it into a case study. The business press celebrates it as proof that brand management can resurrect the dead. Nobody asks the obvious question. If the tools are the same tools from the same factories, what exactly was resurrected? The answer is nothing. And everything. The physical product did not change. Neither did the factories or the engineers. The motor inside a 1992 DeWalt drill is the same motor that was inside a 1991 Black & Decker professional drill, with the same gearbox and the same chuck. What changed was the housing, the color, the name. And with those, the perception changed entirely. The perception is everything. In 1994, DeWalt acquires Elu, a respected German woodworking power tool manufacturer. Elu's technology, engineering, and product designs are integrated into the DeWalt line. This is the first moment where DeWalt tools begin to diverge from their Black & Decker origins. Elu brings genuine engineering capability that Black & Decker's consumer-focused R&D had not developed. Also in 1994, DeWalt launches more than 30 new cordless power tools at 14.4 volts, the highest output cordless platform on the market at the time. These are not rebadged Black & Decker tools. These are new products, designed for the professional contractor market, engineered from the ground up. The DeWalt brand, which began as a color change and a sticker swap, is beginning to build real products with real engineering behind them. By 2001, DeWalt manufactures and sells more than 200 hand power tools and 800 accessories. The product line has expanded from 33 items to over 1,000. The brand sponsors NASCAR driver Matt Kenseth, who wins 18 races, the 2003 Winston Cup Championship, and the 2009 Daytona 500 wearing DeWalt logos. The yellow and black color scheme is on television every weekend, embedded in the consciousness of every American male who watches motorsports. In 2004, Black & Decker buys Porter Cable, a storied American tool brand, and combines it with DeWalt operations in Jackson, Tennessee. Porter Cable becomes the mid-tier brand. DeWalt stays on top. Black & Decker sinks to the bottom. The tiering is now explicit. 3 brands, 1 corporation, 3 price points. On March 12, 2010, Black & Decker merges with Stanley Works to form Stanley Black & Decker. The combined entity becomes the largest tool company in the world. Annual revenues eventually exceed $15 billion. The portfolio includes DeWalt, Craftsman, Porter Cable, Black + Decker, Irwin, Lennox, Mac Tools, and dozens of other brands. DeWalt is positioned as the flagship, the crown jewel, the brand that generates more revenue and more margin than any other name in the portfolio. The creation has surpassed the creator. The brand that Black & Decker pulled from a filing cabinet in 1992, the dead trademark of a radial arm saw company whose founder had walked away to join a religious order and then become a high school shop teacher, is now the most valuable brand in the most valuable tool company on earth. It has surpassed Black & Decker itself, the company that invented the portable electric drill, that built the tools that went to the moon, that created the dust buster. The child has buried the parent. DeWalt launches the 20V Max battery platform, creating a cordless ecosystem that eventually powers over 200 compatible tools. In 2016, the FlexVolt system arrives, a hybrid battery that automatically switches between 20V and 60V output depending on the tool it is placed in. A single battery that can power a compact drill and a full-size table saw. The engineering is genuinely innovative. It is the kind of engineering that Raymond DeWalt would have understood, the kind that solves a real problem with a clever mechanism. In 2011, DeWalt expands into hand tools, utility knives, pliers, adjustable wrenches, tape measures, hammers. In 2013, mechanics tools, wrenches, ratchets, sockets. The brand that started with one machine in 1924 and was resurrected with 33 rebadged drills in 1992 now covers every tool category a contractor touches. A tradesperson can outfit an entire truck, from cordless drill to socket wrench to tape measure, without leaving the DeWalt ecosystem. The brand has become a lifestyle. In 2021, DeWalt signs a multi-year partnership with the McLaren Formula One team. The brand appears on the rear wing end plates of a car that races at 230 miles per hour in front of global television audiences. In 2022, DeWalt signs a sleeve sponsorship deal with FC Bournemouth in the English Premier League. The name of a shop teacher from Mechanicsburg appears on the arm of a professional footballer running across a pitch in front of 30,000 people. In December 2013, DeWalt announces it will begin assembling a selection of products in the United States, using parts manufactured in Brazil, China, the Czech Republic, Italy, Mexico, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The phrase on the box reads "Made in the USA with global materials." 7 American production facilities support the claim. The flag remains on the packaging, 21 years after the original sawdust parties. In 2017, Stanley Black & Decker acquires the Craftsman brand from Sears for $900 million. Craftsman slots into the mid-tier alongside Porter Cable. The portfolio is now 4 deep, DeWalt on top, Craftsman and Porter Cable in the middle, Black plus Decker at the bottom. By 2023, Porter Cable is quietly discontinued. The brand that the Smithsonian honored in 1996 for its contributions to American manufacturing, the brand that invented the portable belt sander, the helical drive circular saw, and the random orbital sander, is killed for the second time. Killed this time by the same parent company that already killed it once. One of the 4 tiers disappears, the middle consolidates, and the portfolio tightens. And yet, the original product, the radial arm saw that Raymond DeWalt invented in 1922, is no longer manufactured by the company bearing his name. The original factory in Lancaster, the original engineering team, the original Leola workshop, all gone. The founder has been dead for over 60 years. Radial arm saws that use Raymond DeWalt's original design can still be purchased, but not from DeWalt. They come from the original saw company, which bought the manufacturing rights from the 2 executives who purchased them from Black & Decker in the 1980s. The real DeWalt machine, the Wonderworker and its descendants, carries someone else's name now. The DeWalt name is on tools that Raymond DeWalt never imagined, never designed, and never held. The brand is a zombie. Not in the sense that it is dead. In the sense that it walks and speaks and sells millions of units, but the body it inhabits has nothing to do with the person whose name it carries. The soul of the brand, the radial arm saw, the small-town Pennsylvania workshop, the inventor who walked away to teach shop class, has been gone since the 1980s. What remains is a trademark, a color, a warranty program, and a marketing position inside a $15 billion conglomerate. Trace the line from 1924 to today and the pattern is impossible to ignore. Raymond DeWalt invents the radial arm saw in 1922. He founds a company in 1924. The company thrives, he sells it, it changes hands repeatedly. Amph buys it in 1949, Black & Decker buys it in 1960. The radial arm saw market declines. Black & Decker sells the manufacturing. The brand goes dormant in 1989. 3 years later, Black & Decker pulls the name from a drawer, paints its own tools yellow, and launches the most successful brand repackaging in the history of the tool industry. The resurrection works because the name carries a reputation its owner did nothing to maintain. 70% of tradespeople remember DeWalt as professional, durable, trustworthy. They remember it because their fathers used the radial arm saw. They remember it because their high school shop class had one bolted to the bench. They remember it because the name had been embedded in the American construction industry for 65 years before anyone thought to exploit it. That accumulated trust, earned by Raymond DeWalt through engineering, built by decades of reliable machines, reinforced by generations of tradespeople who used those machines. Until they wore out and then bought the same machine again, was spent in a single marketing campaign. Nobody refreshed it. Nobody earned it again. It was withdrawn from an account that Raymond DeWalt had spent 40 years depositing into, and nobody has made a deposit since. The tools that carry the DeWalt name today are, by most professional accounts, competent. Some are excellent. The FlexVolt system is genuinely innovative. The 20V Max platform is extensive and well supported. The engineering post-Elu acquisition has improved substantially from the rebadged Black & Decker origins. The brand has grown into something real. But the origin of that growth was not engineering or invention or a man in a woodworking mill who could not hire more workers and built a machine to solve the problem. It was a filing cabinet in Towson, Maryland, a color swatch labeled yellow, and a survey that said 70% of tradespeople still remembered a name they had not seen on a shelf in 3 years. Raymond DeWalt invented the radial arm saw in 1922 because his mill was understaffed and his company refused to hire. He called his machine the Wonder Worker because it replaced 7 tools with 1. He founded a company, named it after himself, built it into a national brand, then walked away to pursue a religious calling, and ended his career teaching teenagers how to cut wood in a high school workshop in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. He was a tradesman, not a corporate strategist or a brand manager. He saw a problem on a factory floor and built a machine to solve it. The machine worked, the company grew, the name became the category. And then he left. He died in 1961, quietly and in obscurity, a shop teacher in a small Pennsylvania town, 1 year after Black & Decker acquired the company he had founded 37 years earlier. The press did not cover his death. No industry publication ran a tribute. The inventor of the radial arm saw, the founder of DeWalt Products Company, the man whose name would one day appear on a Formula One car and a Premier League jersey and 200 cordless power tools, died in a town most Americans have never heard of, doing a job most people would never associate with the name. 65 years later, his name is on the side of every yellow power tool in every hardware store in America. His name generates billions of dollars in annual revenue. His name is the flagship brand of the largest tool company on earth. He would not recognize a single product that carries it. The Wonder Worker, the Lancaster factory, the Leola workshop, the radial arm saw itself, all of it is gone. The saw is manufactured by another company under a different name. Every physical trace of the company Raymond DeWalt built has been erased. What remains is a trademark, a color, a warranty program, and a marketing position inside a $15 billion conglomerate. That is the rise and fall and rise of DeWalt. The first rise was built on engineering, the fall on neglect, and the second rise on marketing. The name on the box is the only thing that survived all three. And the name belonged to a shop teacher who walked away from his own company to pursue a calling nobody remembers, and died in a town nobody visits, having invented a machine that nobody manufactures under his name anymore. That is what is left of the Wonder Worker.